And I just want to hit that first. They're obviously not the main talking point here. But the main talking point is obviously we have to look at the top of the table. We look at Liverpool and we look at Manchester City. And a lot of people are ready to write the title race off if Liverpool were to win that game.
Would you have?
No.
10-point difference?
No, but it would have obviously... I wanted Liverpool to win. There was a part of me that wanted them to win because I feel like this would have been Pep's biggest challenge of his career at that point.
10 points back halfway through the season?
Yeah. I feel like that would have been his biggest challenge. And if he were to come out of that, that would be huge. Because like we've always agreed, Liverpool weren't going to go undefeated throughout the season. So they were going to drop points somewhere. And that would put City's room for error at like, there's none.
Yeah.
So that was the part of me that wanted them to possibly lose or tie. But I still think that obviously the odds would be stacked against them. I said that in the group chat. But I don't think you could write them off at that moment. Because I'm just going off what we've seen in the past. I've seen 8 points get turned around in 4 weeks or 3 weeks in April. You know, it's just obviously doesn't look that way in December. But when March and April come around, silly things happen.
Well, all it takes is a bad 2 weeks really to let somebody back in.
Yeah.
You take one of 6 points.
Yeah.
The other team takes their full points. You make up 5 quickly, right?
And that's where we're going with this. And
but are we seeing a different Liverpool this year, though?
We are.
Because this is, to me, that's why I think that game was crucial. If Liverpool go 10 up, I find it really hard to believe that this Liverpool, not the historical Liverpool that always seems to come up short and mess it up in March and April. I don't see this Liverpool giving up a 10-point lead. That's why I think it was that fine line, that tipping point.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Liverpool that bottled it with Suarez and Sturridge and Gerrard, like they were looking that dominant too. When you think about it, Suarez was playing at almost peak level, and his combination with Sturridge was, unmatched. Like they were scoring goals for fun, and that's why I'm like, that's where I see the comparison. Obviously, defensively not there, but if we want to look at that, then I look at Rafa's Liverpool, where you had Alonso and Mascherano playing ahead of that back four, and then you had Torres and Gerrard linking, and they were just as good there. They went to Old Trafford and beat Ferguson's United with Ronaldo and the whole crew there 4-1, and you're thinking, okay, like they're probably going to do it. And that's the reason why. I know 10 is a lot, but that was why I was like, yeah, that would make them the huge favorite, but I couldn't be like, yeah, it's over yet. And that was my thing. Because as great as Liverpool have looked, there's got to be a point in the season where, and I don't think that game that they lost was that point where it's like, yeah, they're having a rough spell.
That's the thing, is they haven't looked great though.
Yeah. But I don't know.
They've just been getting results. But if you tell me that they string off 6 games in a row, 7 games in a row, I won't be surprised.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
The thing is that I think the way that they're playing, I don't know if they're built to look as great as they have in the past.
I think what happened, what transpired in the last 6 months or the beginning of 2018 sort of got them ready for this moment. And I think personally for me, that's why I see a little bit different Liverpool. They're winning games that they at times last year would have struggled to win. And maybe historically would have won against the smaller sides, but they're nicking results regardless of if they're playing well or not. The front three are not playing nowhere near the level that we seen them at last season.
But do you think that's down to them being exhausted mentally, physically? Because they played a lot of games.
Yeah.
They played a lot of games. And you have to start to think that perhaps they're going to hit a wall. And maybe maybe they're hitting that wall. Because I get your point and I agree with your point. And that's why we haven't killed them on this podcast. It's not even the fact that they haven't lost. It's just the fact that they're doing everything that we've challenged them to do.
Yeah.
And what everyone should be challenging them to do. And it's just that you've spent this much money. You've gone the side or close to the side that you would have wanted. Forget the big names. People always they like to associate title winning teams with big name signings. You don't need big name signings to win league titles. And we're seeing that here. Even with like when we look at City, like their players that they've signed aren't like the 5 or 10 best players in the world.
They've never brought in anybody that was a top signing.
Yeah. So that's where I'm going with that.
Maybe apart from Kyle. I'll say maybe he borders on the line of that.
Yeah, but
even at that time, he wasn't. He was just a good player that was at Spurs.
Yeah. So it's not about that. It's just that Klopp has gotten everything that he wanted in every position and depth. You know what I'm saying? So we've challenged them and they're doing it.
But it's funny that he resorted back to
yeah,
his go-to 11 against City.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I found extremely interesting. He went back to the tried and tested 11.
And I also understand that because when you think about it, it's like some of the players that he brought in, Naby Keita, Shaqiri, who else did he bring
Fabinho.
in? Barring possibly Fabinho, maybe, a lot of those players have come in kind of to offer that depth as to what they need to kind of push over the hump, right? Like I said, this is the best that we may ever see them under Klopp, and I feel like it's the competition is there, and obviously if they weren't playing that well, we'd be looking at the City side and being like, wow, they're doing it again. You know what I'm saying? Because City's record isn't terrible.
No. They've dropped points in 5 matches.
Liverpool are just Liverpool have just hit a gear and they're staying there, they're doing it tidy, they're getting the results, right? When I look at the game, this may not be the popular opinion, but I don't think they were that bad. And I think they deserved at least a draw. And I think they created the better chances throughout the game. And I thought the only time that they really were opened up was when they had to chase the game after.
Which is pretty normal.
Yeah. But I thought the way they approached it was fine. Yes, Lovren made the mistake for the goal. Yes, they had some issues down the left-hand side. But I thought their overall approach was good. And the change that Klopp made, I don't think it significantly changed the pattern of the game. But at that point, they had to push and they had gained control. Fabinho adds this calming presence. He's good on the ball. He was distributing the ball well. And it just worked out that way. And City were pushed back and they were able to get that goal.
And you can tell he didn't really go for it.
No.
Because if he went for it, he's making the change and putting Shaqiri in the middle. And he's going with the front 4 and the 2 holders.
Yeah.
So that's another thing where I think he knows I'm 7 points up. And this is the moment where I don't need to push for it yet.
Yeah.
Because I see if that game's in March and they're in that scenario, he's making the change where he's taking out Henderson or Wijnaldum and putting in Shaqiri.
Yeah.
He's not making the change the opposite way.
Yeah. So it's tough when you really look at it because I felt like obviously the way we are assessing teams is that yes, you've lost and how do you respond? How do you bounce back? That's how we kind of judge you, right? But I think they'll be fine. I don't know if they're going to drop points anytime soon after this, but it was big for City because they had to win and they had to kind of grind it out because when you look at the goals that they had scored, it was Aguero getting ahead of Lovren, and then it was Raheem Sterling's direct runs more so in the second half that Liverpool couldn't really cope with. Boy, does Raheem not want to score against his old team.
And I don't think he ever wants to score against anybody. Whenever he's in the box, he just...
Every time going right against Robertson. Robertson knew. I knew. If I know, then that's a big
Robertson
problem.
Definitely knows.
Yeah, if I know, Robertson knows, and vice versa. So
I think for the spectacle of what it was, I think it was really good. It was 2 heavyweights going at it. I don't think anybody was really a poor side. Yeah. It was just on that day it happened to go that way, which is a testament to how far Liverpool have come, and I think is a testament to show a lot of other sides that you have to give a coach a little bit of time and some backing.
Yeah,
the likes of AC Milan, the likes of Inter, the likes of Arsenal, likes of Chelsea, they have to look. This is an example. This is a template that Liverpool have set up.
Yeah.
That you can be successful if you give him time and you give him the confidence and the backing.
Well, that's been my biggest thing with how the game is going now. It's just like players have so much control as to who the manager is, whether they stay, whether they don't. And it's the boards that need to back the manager. You only go as far as you're backing. I feel like that's like my 2019 quote. But it's true. You go as far as the people that back you, and who backs you kind of defines how you're going to succeed or whether you're not, right? And that's what's happened at Liverpool. That hasn't happened at Spurs because financially they haven't. But Liverpool, they backed him in every way. He's virtually a cult hero. And even when I was looking at the games that Liverpool played throughout the festive period, like even the Newcastle one, and that's where I kind of get your point, is that in that game, the atmosphere there, they believe, the fans believe, the players believe. Yep. It was like, wow.
Against Wolves, they didn't play the best. They still got a result.
Yep.
destroyed Arsenal. That is what it is.
Yeah, they killed Arsenal. Mind you,
But it's like I tweeted, they're two teams who are completely different stages, and people really need to pump the brakes on that one.
Yeah.
Well, after that, there was a lot of hot takes on what is Arsenal? This is the same Arsenal from before.
Well,
you have to set the bar on the expectations of what Arsenal was coming into the season.
You see, this is my thing with people like to kill Arsenal. It's like the fun thing to do. So when they were getting killed at like halftime, you saw all the jokes. Oh, same old Arsenal. Oh, Unai is not getting it done. Oh, can never count on Arsenal. You give Unai, if the Arsenal board gives Unai the next 12 to 18 months to do what he wants and gives him the money to get that job done, everyone's going to be switching their tune around.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it works. The same thing at Chelsea. You give those managers the time and the backing, things will turn around. But you can't let the players dictate how things are going to go.
More so, I don't think you can let the fans dictate how things go.
Likewise.
Because you can't have the fans start to push the panic button and then all of a sudden you push the panic button and now you're making decisions based on a time frame that they're pushing.
Yeah, and we've seen that at two of the clubs in England, two of the top clubs. We've seen Chelsea where the fans are starting to do that. We'll get to that in a bit. And we see that at United where the players are doing that. And this was my point last week, was that at Liverpool, you could never see Mane or Firmino or Salah complaining about them not playing in their best position, you know?
Yeah.
Or complaining with Klopp about that, because no, they understand that they have to play in X position for the team to perform at the best level. And that is how I know that they are winners, or not yet, but on the verge of being winners, or they can be placed in that pedestal. They want to be winners in comparison to the guys at United, where it's me, or I need to play in this position, or I need to play this sort of football for me to perform or for me to be happy. Whereas Liverpool they're fine sitting deep.
Milner will play anywhere.
Milner will play. They're fine. Wijnaldum will play anywhere. He's someone that I've been impressed with recently. I don't even like his game.
Yeah,
I hate his game.
Yeah,
but he's doing his thing, and they are fine if they have to press forward and play the way that they would probably like to play. They're willing to do that. If they got to sit deep and soak up pressure and then hit on the counterattack, they're willing to work and track and press. But you look at the other teams. You got Eden complaining about his position. You got the United boys complaining about their position and where they're playing. And that is the difference between at those clubs and at these clubs. Because at Spurs, they play multiple systems. No one's complaining. City, they play multiple systems per game.
Yeah.
And no one's complaining. Position, some of those guys, Bernardo played on the right wing.
Say all of last season.
And
now we're seeing him play in the middle, and look at him.
And
he's flourishing.
Never complained.
If Fernando ever puts him on the wing again, I'm going to be so mad.
Never complained. And now Liverpool, same thing. And that's the difference here.
But I think that's another thing that attests to management, because when you're going out and you're attracting players, you gotta do a background check on them. You gotta know who you're bringing in, the type of character that they are. When you're chasing the big names, a lot of the times, if you're 19 and look at Mbappe, he knows he's a big name. He has his dad in his ear. He knows that if I go to a club, I'm calling the shots.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go get a Firmino in Germany, nobody really knows him. He's gonna want to be a part of the team and just win.
Yeah.
So that comes down to board and knowing who you're going after.
And that's the biggest thing. And I feel like that was my thing with Mourinho, and that he understands that, but he has to understand that the new age, these younger players that are being coddled since the moment they're able to lace up a pair of shoes for God knows what reason, that is how that is. And it's probably best that you stay away from those players. Because if you're not willing to work, and that's what separates the Messis and the Ronaldos from everyone else. Everyone else is that it doesn't matter who the coach is. Those guys have had so many coaches over the past years, but they still get it done.
We've seen Ronaldo play anywhere. We've seen Messi play wherever he has to.
Still get it done. And that's why I'm so hard on Paul, because when you look at whatever's happening right now with Paul and the bums that he's playing against United, like, okay, why weren't you doing that when Mourinho was there?
Yeah.
I don't care about whether he wanted you to sit 5 yards deeper or not. That's game management. That's for you as a player to understand, okay, he may want me there, but if there's an opportunity to push into the box, don't blame the manager. But that's what we're seeing at Liverpool. We're seeing proper backing. And yeah, I wanted them to win. because I felt like it would have been very exciting. Not that it's not exciting now, but there's now the buzz is there. The race was apparently off. Now it's back on.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that's what everybody wants.
But City, on the other hand, I'm upset that we didn't do the podcast last week because we actually had a lot of questions to ask about them. And we never get to ask questions about City.
It was gut check time, really.
So I was ready to ask a lot of questions, Laura.
I'm sorry, I don't have an answer.
You know, I had a lot of questions. My City thing, Dan was in the group chat talking about Fernandinho and this and that. And I understand he was amazing against Liverpool. And I do think that perhaps they need to get someone in there eventually, right? But the problem with Dye is he was one of the problems, but Pep tried to work that out by playing the fullbacks a bit narrow and having them sit closer to Gundogan. But the problem is that the fullbacks have been terrible.
Well, it doesn't help where you don't have Mendy. Like, I thought Laporte did well for what he was asked to do.
Yeah, you're right.
In that game specifically,
game, I'm talking about the games previous.
In the grand scheme of things.
Palace, even Southampton when, who was it? Zinchenko made the mistake for the goal. And it was funny. I don't know if you saw me retweet that Louis Van Gaal analysis. No. Where it was like breaking down, City's problem is that in defensive transition, they push too many players forward, and he had a little board, and he was trying to, I was like, okay, listen, man. Everyone says that City pushes too many men forward, and you're not, like, that's not the reason why they lost against Crystal Palace. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're right that Mendy needs to be there, but this is an issue that Pep now and that board needs to look at, because you've signed Mendy, you've had him for 2 years. And how many games has he played?
His longest stretch was at the beginning of this year.
When he's there, I see where you're going with the issue. I see why you signed him. But if he can't stay fit for at least 3/4 or at least half of the season, then you got to look somewhere else. You have to look somewhere else. And that's something that we have to challenge Pep to do. And we have to challenge Pep. Yes, you lost out on Jorginho, but you got to find some way to fill that void when Fernandinho's not there. I don't think it's the biggest issue, because when I look at the game that they lost against Palace, and then they lost to Leicester.
Yeah, 1-0.
Yeah.
No, they did.
Yeah, they lost to Leicester.
2-1. 2-1, sorry.
They lost to Leicester. The Leicester
loss.
Vardy. Yeah. The Leicester loss I didn't really care about because, like, you have to look at last season. They're missing their first string central midfield options. I know Bernardo's done a good job. I know Gundogan's an adequate replacement. But there was no De Bruyne. Like, we haven't seen De Bruyne, Silva, Fernandinho throughout the entire season.
Yeah. And also, David Silva hasn't come back, been really himself in the last few weeks either.
Yeah.
I thought he was one of the worst players against Liverpool.
And that's rare.
Yeah. That's very rare, extremely rare.
So I think they're not pressing enough. I don't know if they're tired coming off a World Cup year, coming off everything that happened last year. They're not pressing like Liverpool as frequently as a unit as they did last season. They haven't. The Fernandinho thing is obviously an option that you could pick at.
Kyle hasn't been at his best.
That's what I mean. The fullbacks haven't been that great. If it's not, Delph hasn't been, like, when you look at the goals they've conceded, Kyle has been culpable, Zinchenko, Danilo, all of them have been culpable for these goals throughout this festive period. So they're not in form.
I think we've seen a little dip in Leroy and Raheem.
In terms of goal score, well, Leroy scored the winner, but like,
yeah, but previous to the Liverpool game, it's just they haven't been at their peak.
And Mahrez can't play in the big games. Yeah, and I know why. Because he's not going to do the defensive work that Leroy and Raheem are going to do.
Yeah,
and he's known for that.
And right now too, it's Aguero or bust.
Yeah,
Jesus isn't giving you anything.
Yeah,
so it's a lot of things that are not ticking at the wrong time right now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's well, now because the way the table is, it's kind of the wrong time. But
it's the wrong time because the pressure's on with what Liverpool are doing. That's why it's the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to say it again, I think this is the year where you don't have very many slip-ups.
Yeah. I don't know
if you stay within 2 games until you play another head-to-head with Liverpool, I think you're okay.
They don't play any other head-to-heads because remember the 0-0 and now this. So it's win out.
when Mahrez missed the penalty.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's win out.
I already forgot that this is already the second time through.
Yeah.
This year's gone by quick.
It's win or bust.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's why you have to keep you have to keep within fighting distance. That's why that win was huge.
Yeah. And we'll see. Obviously now we look at it, I think Liverpool can handle most of the inferior sides, which was one of their issues under Klopp during his time there. But I'm interested to see how they play against Spurs when they play each other again. I'm interested to see Liverpool against United as well.
Honestly, I want to see how they handle this Brighton game. Brighton away?
Yep.
Coming off of a loss, to me that would be very telling of what this Klopp side really is.
Yeah.
If you come out and you
hammer them,
or you drop 2 points, you get a draw out of this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna really question the psychology behind that team.
The thing is, they have leaders. They have leaders. If Jordan's a leader, or he wants us to believe he's a leader, I'd like to think James is a leader.
You would like to hope so.
Virgil is a leader.
But everybody at this point, with what they went through in the last 6 months, making a Champions League final, your head has to be there because you know what it's like to almost win.
Yeah. I know, but you got to win.
Yeah, that's what we've been preaching the whole year. It can't be another year where you finish second.
Yeah. Just be Wolves. Just be Wolves.
Hey, they've been good.
But when I look at their festive period, was pretty good. City's was interesting, but I think they've ended it on the right note. I think if there had to be some belief in that side now, looking that they won that game at home. They didn't have to use De Bruyne. They didn't have to use Mahrez. When everyone is healthy, they are deep.
If there's anybody that I trust leading a side like through a battle like this, it's Pep. Somebody who knows how to mentally keep these players in it.
Yeah, you would like to think so. Pep has faced adversity a few times. There's only one time where he kind of bottled that adversity, and that was when Mourinho won. And the thing that year has a lot, besides all the off-field stuff, it has a lot of similarities in the sense that what Liverpool are doing now, Madrid were kind of doing the same thing. Like Pep didn't lose that season because obviously Barca had injuries. And they had Messi on like some ridiculous. That was the time when he scored like the 91 goals in like the whole calendar year.
On a heater.
But it wasn't that Barcelona were that bad. It was just Real were just so good and they weren't losing. And it kind of makes me think that if that's how you got to beat Pep, you got to beat him that way. You have to
which at the end of the day, it's kudos to you.
You have to go on an incredibly great tear and just burn out, but
it might have to be that way.
But that's the one thing that I could say about this, and it's looking like that. I want Liverpool to push them to the end. I want it to go down to the end.
I think that's what we all want, honestly.
But I also want it to go to 10 because I'm selfish. I want because everyone would be like, "Oh, the title race is over." Well, that's it. Let's pack it in. But it's like, no, it's not, and it would have been huge on Pep because now you really got to think, and now the pressure's really on. You're 10 points back. It's January. You got 18 games to go, and you probably got to win all 18.
Yeah,
and that would have been okay. Let's see what you're made out of.
Because they did what last season? 17?
Something like that.
I think it was 17, and then it was Liverpool that snapped their streak.
Yeah, and now
it was the vice versa. But to me, when they handled the Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, those 3 fixtures in a row, that might be the gut check.
That's Liverpool?
That's City.
Oh, City.
Remember how Arsenal played
oh yeah.
They had their City Chelsea start?
Yeah. That comes back again, right?
Yeah, because City go Arsenal. Actually it's a home and home. So City go receive Arsenal, receive Chelsea, then they go away to Everton. Yeah. That's at the end of February. And so that's 3 fixtures right there.
Within the Champions League too.
Yes. Because if you take those 9 points, that puts Liverpool on notice.
Yeah, and those sides have Europa League too, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, the February fixtures February, March is really where you start to see the end game,
and that's what I was telling Dan. This is all gonna go back to Dan. We're gonna name this podcast Dan. It all goes back to Dan. So it's Dan. And I was like, Dan, I don't make these takes until February or March when we have a clear idea of how this could go. Because even now, it's kind of like still kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Can you throw those Champions League fixtures into things too? No,
not really.
Well, for me it does because these are I still think Champions League is a competition they're trying to win.
But
They can't just do well in the Champions League.
no, I know. But I think that in that February span. Oh, you're talking about as a whole?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Once you throw Champions League into the mix and you throw that February, March time frame into the mix where you have those games as well, that's the reality.
But it goes hand in hand for both of them because City have the easier tie out of the two. Liverpool got Bayern.
Yeah.
So Liverpool are going to be exerting some energy over there too, because that's not going to.
What's the priority for either side? What's more of the priority, or is it the same?
I'm the firm believer that you got to win the league, and
especially considering the fact that Liverpool haven't done it.
Liverpool Champions League is a bonus for Liverpool. Liverpool have to win the league now. There's no obviously if they win the Champions League, that's great, but priority should be winning this league. That's all I got to say. As for City, everyone's going to hype up the Champions League for them. They have to win. But the same thing applies. Like, Pep will get another go-around if they don't win the Champions League this season. You know? Like, it's not the end of the world. And even if they don't win the league, like, he'll get another go-around in the Champions League.
Because when I look at it, when I look at these things, I look at it through the fan perspective. Like, this is the fan finally wanting a Champions League for City.
I don't think
could they live with the Champions League and not win the league.
I think if Laura goes around Manchester when she gets home and she asks, I think they won't kill Pep if they don't win the Champions League. I don't think the burning desire to win the Champions League is that intense in Manchester in comparison to everyone else trying to throw that pressure onto them because it's Pep and because City haven't done it. I think that's just a outsider thing where it's like, oh, you have something to kind of like go at them for if they don't do it. Oh, well, you haven't won the Champions League. So, but I don't
think they want the Champions League.
Say that again?
I do think that they want the Champions League.
Yeah.
Do they want it more than the league? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think it's like that there. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, well, we'll take the Champions League 100% over if we don't win the league. But I think from the outside looking in and any neutral that doesn't support them, they're placing that pressure on them. I don't think their Champions League, the significance of the Champions League for them is equivalent to Juventus.
It's not on that level yet.
Yeah, or even you could say PSG, and I only put PSG in this conversation based on how much superior they are to everyone else in that league. Because I feel if the other contenders, or if you want to call them contenders, were within fighting distance, I don't think the Champions League would be as big for them as it is now.
I'm just speaking to the fact that they've won it recently.
Yeah.
So I would assume that they'd want the Champions League more.
For Liverpool?
No, City.
Oh, City?
That's just an assumption.
Yeah, well, obviously Guardiola's there.
I feel like that's the final cherry that they're chasing right now.
Yeah. And if that is the case, like you said, it could be the case. I just don't think it's that much greater than the league priority.
That's fair.
So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting time for both of them.